Welcome to the Filmographers podcast. I'm Keir Graff.
And I'm Michael Moreci. We recently concluded our season-long exploration of the movies of Steven Soderbergh. And while we begin research on our next subject, we're taking the opportunity to bring you some different kinds of programming.
Today's episode is just one example. We had the opportunity to speak with Nathan Deming, writer and director of the independent film February, as well as that film's producer, Adam Stunkle. They may be based in LA, but this project was filmed a lot closer to our home in Chicago. We talked about Mike Leigh and the London Film School, the realities of making a low-budget movie in a state that doesn't even have a film office, working with a non-professional actor, and more.
And naturally, we talked about Steven Soderbergh. Everyone loves Steven Soderbergh, so how could we not? Now, before we get into the interview, if you want to support our efforts to bring you more conversations like these, please take a moment to join our Patreon. We are at patreon.com/thefilmographers-podcast. You don't have to pay a penny to join. There are free options, but if you do decide to make a reoccurring contribution, we'll send you some cool stuff. We got mugs, we've got stickers. So check us out at patreon.com/thefilmographers-podcast.
Patreon members have access to exclusive content like commentary tracks and more. And wherever you listen, whether Patreon or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you'll continue to receive monthly reviews of new films by a variety of filmmakers, interviews, and much, much more.
Yeah, we have so much planned, both in the coming months and in season 2. But for now, here's our conversation with Nathan Deming and Adam Stunkle of the film February, the second of 12 planned installments in their year project.
We have with us today Nathan Deming and Adam Stunkle, the writer, director, and producer, and the producer of, we'll talk about your individual roles a little bit, of the film February, which is the second installment in the year project, which we'll be talking about that more as well. Welcome, Nathan and Adam.
Hey, thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
As I said, February is the second of 12 installments in the planned year project. Can you tell listeners who don't know what the project is and how you came up with the idea for it?
Yeah, so it's basically a series of 12 films I want to make that are all based on the months of the year, all set in Wisconsin, all character pieces. So they're all going to shift perspectives and kind of inspired by the Decalogue or other kind of like film series that have come out. And the idea is that over time, there'll be like interweaving themes and stuff. But in the meantime, they're also just standalone stories. So I'm going in order. I'm 2 in, so this is number 2. Yeah, I'm so excited about this idea. It's been like a pet project brewing for a bit. And then when the opportunity came up to do January, a lot of stuff started to fall into place. And I realized that this is something I want to do for a long time on the side of basically anything else I do. Always come back to Wisconsin, my home state, always work on these films. And then with February, we did this kind of roadshow tour in February. And then that also clicked, or it was like, oh, that's how we'll also always roll it out. I love going to theater. I love theater experiences. So I also want it to be something that hopefully Wisconsin audiences are looking forward to and excited about. And who knows, maybe Mark Ruffalo will be in April or May or something, and they'll be like, more reason to turn out.
Time for some celebrity cameos.
Yeah.
So do you still live in Wisconsin?
I live in LA, but I've been back here for a few months doing this tour, and then also kind of prepping some other possible projects. So I'm in Eau Claire today. You guys are in Chicago, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So go Midwest. But yeah, Adam's in LA.
Yeah, that's interesting. We speak of the Midwest, and we'll talk about this. I want to ask a lot about the Wisconsin film credit, because I'm also a filmmaker and we work in Illinois, which Illinois has got really great film credit program. But we'll get to that in a moment. And I'm sure you guys can speak to that. But first, I want to get Adam involved. Like, Adam, how did you get involved in this project, and were you involved? And forgive me if couldn't find this information, but were you involved in January as well, or is February your first collaboration with Nathan?
February is my first producing relationship with Nathan. The first time we've done that. I've known Nathan since film school. We went to film school in London together. And we were these two kids from America who really wanted to study film by Mike Leigh, who was the guy who was teaching, in charge kind of the school. And so that's how we met. And, we got close then, and then we ended up both living in LA. And then he pitched me the idea to produce. And producing is something I love doing. I love working with artists with directors, because I also direct on the side. And I think I understand trying to help a director see their vision out is the role of the producer, while also being logistics. So anyways, I guess I've had some bad producer director experiences, and I'm if I want to be a producer, I want to be one that's nourishing to a director. And so when he offered the opportunity and the script was amazing, I jumped at it. It was just the right timing. I was looking for producing projects, and then someone that I've known for, 10, 12 years at this point. So it just kind of all folded together at the right time.
Can you talk a little bit more about the specifics of your role as producer on the film?
Yeah. The role of producer of any film is always interesting, because I bet it's different every time. This one was spending a lot of time with Nathan talking about the story in the opening, spending a lot of time in casting, because we didn't have a casting director. So we're on all the websites scrolling through, trying to find all the actors. And we just went through the process of making the film together. Yeah. So I guess I can't.
A locksmith, Adam.
Oh, well, there's lots of on the ground producing stories where things went wild. At one point, I needed to learn how to lockpick a 95 Impala, and I wasn't very good at that. So I had to call some sketchy locksmith who insisted on cash only. And while they were filming, I was waiting. And anyways, I got into the car. The tags were expired. The headlights didn't work. And they're, and it was just, I was freaking out, because I like rules and order and things like this. And I'm screaming. I'm a little upset at Nathan at that point. It's very cold. The crew is tired. So anyways,
that wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault.
Agreed. I was cold and tired. I admit it. Anyway, sorry. It's a real long, winding answer.
Movie making magic, guys.
Yeah.
just your typical Hollywood producer stuff.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I wish I knew how to break into cars better. No, don't do that. I don't recommend it. I don't do it. I heard Werner Herzog say it one time, so just blame him. He actually teaches lock picking at his film school.
Wow. Well, and I was going to say, kudos to all of us for showing restraint and not busting out our Herzog impressions as soon as you said Herzog. That's usually what happens in my household.
Well, he made what's the Wisconsin movie that he made?
I know the one you're talking about, but yeah, I can't think of the name either.
The guy who comes to America. It's very
and he lives in a trailer with his his family comes into or joins him, the woman.
Yeah, and the end is the chicken playing the drums.
Yeah. That's
that movie is bananas.
Yes. I can't remember.
So good. One of a kind, that guy.
Oh God. Yes, definitely. You guys mentioned Mike Leigh, and I'm sure Keir. Keir's a Mike Leigh fan, so I'm gonna let Keir roll into Mike Leigh. I like Mike Leigh as well, but I know.
Yeah, well, it's one of the things that jumped out when we first heard about your project and we're reading the press materials, and it says that you studied under Mike Leigh at London Film School, and it's just wow. And then I watched February, and I just thought, wow, there's clearly some influence and affinity there in a artistic way. It's not, it shows the kind of, I know, the best side of being influenced by somebody, right? I mean, but it feels like February is full of this sort of same care and concern for working class Wisconsinites that Leigh shows for working class, English people. But yeah, I would just love to hear a little bit more about your experience. I mean, as a fan, like, what's it like to take a class from him? But also just like, how does his work inspire you?
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm a huge Mike Leigh fan. He's the reason I went to that school. I think this will date me a bit, but I was finishing college and Another Year came out, if you saw that one. And I don't think that might have been the first one. And then I went down a rabbit hole of all his films, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Because I grew up on a good American diet of Spielberg and George Lucas and all that, I loved all those things too. But seeing Mike Leigh, I was like, I didn't even know films could look like this or feel like this. And you feel like every line of dialogue is you just lifted up the roof and you're spying on people basically, because they'll say something that you don't. The lines aren't in there just to move the plot along. It's there for you to later go, oh, now that I know the whole story, she's neurotic about her looks or something. You start to piece together things where in the moment you're kind of just like observing and absorbing. I think it's like a really fun viewing experience. So he was the president of the school when he was there. It's definitely like his ethos. He kind of only swooped in a couple times a year to do like a master class or something like that. Or I one of my favorite times is we watched Naked together, and that was the first time I saw Naked, and blew me away. Still one of my favorite films. Were you there for that one, Adam? Because we were in different
I was not.
terms.
We were in different terms. Yeah, I was not.
But yeah, that was really fun. Do you have any Mike Leigh memories, Adam?
I remember I was on the board of governors for the school, the organizing body, and so I'd be in these like very boring British, just boring corporate meetings, looking at all the numbers, and Mike Leigh would be there, and there was a very lively, again, this dates us, a lively conversation because our film insisted on using film and editing. We were we gave up the Steenbeck machines on editing late, but we shot on 35 and 16. And so we were having this conversation, and all of the cinematography department was like protesting to Mike Leigh. It's like, come on, we got to shoot on film. We got to shoot on film. And he's like, I don't see what the argument is. It doesn't make it like we were like looking at the costs. And it was like, guys, I love film so much. And then he was like talking about this is when the Ari was coming out. And so ultimately he kind of sided. It's like, I don't know what the conversation is. It's like, if we can do film, great. But I just think we got to move to the digital cameras. And I think a lot of people in the room were kind of surprised that Mike Leigh would kind of have that.
Yeah, we were there at the, I remember because, when I applied, it was like, we're the last major film school shooting on 35 millimeter. And then in the middle of my time there, they were like, we got an Alexa. We're switching.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, what they did was they said, you can shoot film, but if you shoot Alexa, we'll give you more footage.
That's true.
That's a good carrot.
It worked. Everyone was like, screw film. Yeah, I need more chances.
We also had like a DP I remember visit who I don't remember his name now. He was a really good Greek director of photography, and we were all going through our romantic notions of like how much was being lost with film. And he basically at some point looked up. He was fed up with our questions and was like, "I've been waiting for this ease of technology my entire life, and you guys get to use it. So you go out there and you figure out how to make cinema with this, but this is like a dream for me." So that kind of shut me up too, and I was like, okay, I'll go with this. And
that's so fascinating to me because we're just concluding our first season of our podcast, which has been a film by film study of the work of Steven Soderbergh, and he's somebody who is, I think so many of us who love film and are passionate about it just totally romanticize the flicker. And he is somebody who's completely unsentimental about it, like in every way. I was recently corresponding with Larry Blake, his sound guy, who's basically like, we're going to be screening Out of Sight at the Music Box in Chicago a week from the day we're recording this podcast, and it's going to be 35 millimeter. And Larry was just like, yeah, well, Steve would really, I know if you asked him, he would prefer that if you would do digital. Like he doesn't like really, want any of his films screened on film anymore because it's so inferior. And it's just so fascinating to see these. Soderbergh has made big budget movies, but I think he's still an indie at heart because he's always experimenting with the means of production. It's so fascinating to hear this kind of parallel with Mike Leigh and talking about just, it's we're not going to romanticize any of that. So how can we most efficiently make this movie and tell our story?
Totally. And I think I was just on the jury this year for the Wisconsin Film Festival, so I had to watch like 90 movies or whatever, and it blew me away how many shot on 16. Not always using it though. I think it felt more like an Instagram filter. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of a crutch for the aesthetic, and then the lighting would be bad or things like that. So, and that can all maybe be wonderful and good, but it almost felt like just throwing up like a VHS buzz or like on a flicker too. So I think we're in a new world, and already. Do you get? I don't know off the top of my head if Mr. Turner was shot on film or digital. That came out a year or two after we were. Or he was probably shooting it while we were at school.
I bet they shot that on Alexa.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Anyways.
No, I mean, a friend of mine once said, and I think he's very right in this, and he's a director as well. And he had said, listen, the thing that you're battling with, and I want to get to talking to you guys about this as well, in indie or low budget film, is time. Time is just the enemy. And he's like, people say like, oh, well, if you made a movie for like $3 million instead of $1 million, they have this idea that like, you could do so much more. Like you can have like a fucking car chase or something like that. And he's like, the only thing that $3 million gets you as opposed to like $1 million gets you is a few extra takes. Like you just get you get a few more days that you can shoot, and you can get a few more takes and maybe a couple more setups. But that's kind of it, like until you cross a threshold of like tens of millions of dollars, all you're battling is time. And digital filmmaking is buying you time. Like, isn't that what you ultimately want, is to be able to have more takes, more flexibility, maybe, God forbid, some rehearsal, like some of that kind of stuff? Like, isn't that what the digital, I mean, yes, it's not perfect. Digital is far from perfect, but like, isn't that sort of, from our perspective as being people who work in low budget, isn't that part of the magic, is that's buying you some more time?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Adam, I'm interested in your thoughts too. I think the counter argument would be like, and they always say, when you hear that flicker of the film going through the camera, money's being spent and there is more adrenaline. But we didn't really do what I think the extreme version of digital filmmaking is, right, Adam? Where it's like we just ran the camera.
We always rolled. No, yeah. I think that was maybe a little bit of our film school coming in, where we still try to run things like a film set would be. So like we wait until everyone's ready before we roll. Whereas we just hit roll, and we're doing rehearsals now, but the camera's rolling, so we got it. We can use it. We weren't like that at all. We still tried to keep it sort of structured out. But to go to the point that you were bringing up, I mean, I do think the priority is getting the best material you can get, and that's priority. But there are all these other little things you try to get along the way. So these little magic moments, or if someone really made a great case for film, I'd hear it out for sure. I'd shoot on film, absolutely. But it's like it can't be a mask for bad storytelling. You know what I mean? Like it can't be a crutch. But if it's there, absolutely use it. But yeah, you're right. The priority is getting the story, like getting as many takes. That's like top of the list.
Yeah, I'm realizing though that we did actually roll a lot for one person on our film, who is Richie, who's from the ice fisherman character, who was not an actor and was from Craigslist. We did have to do some takes where it was like, because he had just never acted before, so it was like, we're just going to start the camera. Don't worry about the camera. It's just there, and then like let him get kind of comfortable. And then some of the little moments that are my favorite, like him scratching his belly, or I don't know, a burp or something, it's just, those were happening in real life, just, I don't think I would have been as brave to burn the film if it was film,
Well, it's like we were talking about Sean Baker. I mean, Sean Baker shoots a lot. He shoots a ton. And it's funny, even somebody, and we can do this all day, because I mean, like even Finchner, who's like the meticulous overlord of meticulousness. A lot of things that you see actually make it to his movies. Now he's transitioned to digital as well, but like for someone who's meticulous and controlling, he oftentimes, according to legend, like leaves the camera rolling and just goes into a next take really quick. And that's after doing like 74 takes, leave it rolling, do it again really quick, and that's the take that gets used. So it's like, you just don't know. You just don't know what is going to work, and it's just so hard to tell. And like you're saying, with a non-professional actor, like, do you just let him go and see what happens?
That's what we did.
I think it's all trial and error, and everyone's got their own way. So if you got your way that works for you, it's a little superstition too, maybe a little bit, where it's like, no, this is the way it works for me. And yeah, I don't know. I think we just sort of figure it out on the fly.
I definitely wanted to ask you guys about casting and how you cast a film, and because you already started to answer the question I had, which is you cast somebody, you found somebody on Craigslist, a non-professional actor. Tell us about your approach to casting the film and what you were looking for, and a little bit about who some of your lead actors are.
Yeah, well, the idea of the whole series is to show, to, I guess, be authentic, and I guess I'm tired. I don't know how you feel in Chicago, but I'm kind of tired of this Midwest image of like that we're like Fargo or something, like a silly place or something like that. I love Fargo, but I think you know what I mean. I think part of the casting for now, it's also like it's not just that we don't want to like try to get a name if we can get a name. It was actually like we don't want names. Like try to get like real people you haven't seen before, especially because there's like younger actors too. Often, you like if you look hard enough, there's plenty of really talented young actors out there. So with the Latino actors, we basically did several casting websites throughout LA. And then I ended up stumbling on David, who plays Miguel, through Backstage. He had like his dad's a photographer, so he took these kind of really lovely headshots that kind of like, I don't know what you thought, but I think he has a very empathetic face that just kind of draws you in, which is a little bit necessary for the character, especially because he doesn't talk for the first 20 minutes of the movie. And then I think it's his first film. And I think he did a great job. I mean, he's done theater and stuff, but I think he did a great job even in those minute little things. And then Nayeli and Eric, also local LA actors, really fun to find and connect. And that's probably another thing I would take away from Mike Leigh is just the love of actors above, because I think as filmmakers we get obsessed with a lot of things. There's a lot of fun parts of filmmaking, like the gear, shooting on film or shooting on digital and stuff like that. But obviously your film doesn't like exist without actors. So I just felt really lucky with basically where we looked, who we found, them being really good. And then, Richie, basically we were putting on a casting call for this ice fisherman character who, if you saw the film, it just needs to be a very authentic local Wisconsin type. And
he was great.
And every self-tape we got back was, again, like Fargo, or like kind of like, I don't know. I thought too with that character you had to see his face and also see a story on his face, and Richie definitely has that. You're like, oh, this guy's lived a life, and so I threw up, we just were like, okay, we're just going to throw up an ad on Craigslist. And I put, looking for a crazy ice fisherman. And it was actually his wife who wrote back to us saying, this is my husband. She sent us a picture in the same kind of blue tent we had already purchased and we're going to film in. And I was like, okay, the movie can happen now, and
What does he do when he's not acting in your films?
He's ice fishing. That's all he does.
in the winter, yes, he's a jack of all trades. He shovels snow in the winter. He cleans. He does roofing in the summer. He and his wife do everything. They got a couple kids, and So I don't think he's even set foot in a community theater, or anything before this. So it was pretty cool that he just was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do it, And
he was on. I mean, he just like it was wild to see someone adapt to it so quickly, and like, yeah, he was a natural.
Wow. I mean, that's something I appreciate a lot about the film, and I'll plug a Soderbergh thing here. That's a movie that Keir and I both loved and are, exploring his filmography, a movie neither of us had seen before. Not many people have seen before, but it's called Bubble. I don't know if you were familiar with that one.
I knew you were going to say Bubble.
Got it on the shelf. I've got it on the shelf, guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. We found the other ones. Okay.
Yeah. I love Soderbergh. I'm from Virginia, originally like a small farm town. And growing up, that was, I watched like Ocean's 11 and Aaron Brockovich and loved them, Traffic.
Oh, and Aaron Brockovich is my top. Yeah.
And I heard he lived in Charlottesville, Virginia, which was like 45 minutes from where I'm from. So that he was like one of the first directors where I was like, someone from where I'm near can be a director. It was like cracking that open a little bit at like 15.
Yeah, isn't that so important to be like, wait a second, like it makes you get it. You can visualize it so stronger.
And that thing that Nathan said is the other really important one, which is like, I didn't know a movie could be like this. So along the way, you have these movies that kind of like crack open your mind too that way.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you
And
guys
he
like
does.
Logan Lucky?
Logan
Love it.
Lucky's the same. Like he doesn't do that. Like
I love Logan Lucky. Yeah.
One of my top 5, maybe 3.
He's just the best at heists. He's so good at heists.
Because he loves systems. Like we've
And
discovered process and system is like, how does the thing work? And a heist is the perfect vehicle for him to get his whatever fetish he has about processes and systems, like really just get it out of his system every couple of years.
I mean, it's almost meta, because it's like about his approach to filmmaking is all about process. It's like he likes making films more than anything else. He likes being on the set, making a movie. And so everything he's done over his career has been an evolution towards like, how can I make this the most efficient and enjoyable way for me to make movies? And so it's, in a way, it's just like he's replicating that in the stories he tells.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And it's pretty remarkable.
Did you guys?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was going to geek out on Soderbergh more.
Well, keeping the Soderbergh train going,
mind.
I just want to compliment you guys, because that's the thing that I loved about Bubble. And like we said, we're all Midwesterners here, and like you didn't fall in the trap that you oftentimes see of like, I think what we call it like here is like poverty porn, where it's like, boy, aren't these poor people so unlucky and kind of dumb? Like it really talks down to them and places them as types instead of what you guys did and you just described so well. And Mike Leigh does is more about capturing people and places and ideas and emotions. And you let your characters in February be. It feels like more that you're capturing this experience, that this, the immigrant experience, the Wisconsin experience, and you're letting the characters be without passing any certain judgment upon them. And I thought that was pretty remarkable.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, so Adam and I are both from small towns originally. I think we're very sensitive to the details that can be wrong. And I think we wanted to walk a fine line of like, I don't think every movie needs to be about class or something, but it does bother me when there's, the type of typical protagonist we're given is often an artist of some kind or a writer. I would joke about French movies, which is like, they need to figure out how to make a protagonist who's not writing a book or something. like every single movie. But like, or their house will be ginormous, But at the same time, if you're making a movie about class, can you show it the way people actually experience it, with just not just, like you said, poverty porn, or just like, I think there's even a genre bit that we're playing with in February, that we keep setting up little things that you keep thinking it's going to go south or something, like we're about to watch this very miserable version of the story because we're just making some point about XYZ. But I think in real life, and people who inspired the film, it's like they get by, they have fun, they get drunk with their friends, or there's things they'd complain about in their life for sure, and systems that are oppressing them. But I think that's the beauty in a way, is that they're living their life despite it and enjoying it. And this
is something I talk about with one of my writing friends a lot. It's just like, it's so important to show people enjoying the world they live in, like no matter what it is, because like the idea that like poor people can't have fun like becomes this hammer that like artists beat people with or something. And it's just like, yeah, their lives are hard.
And feels like an idea, a perspective of someone, like what someone who has had money would think of someone who has not had money. You know what I mean? Like if it's just that tells me that like, I wonder where the writer comes from.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's funny. This is actually paralleling the current season of White Lotus a little bit, but we don't need to get into that. Characters who can't imagine life without their comforts.
Oh, totally. I grew up going to North Carolina a lot, just for family and vacation. And Parker Posey nails North Carolina money so well. Oh, she nails it.
Wow. Yeah, it's where you get in those situations though. Like really briefly, we're coming off a spring break where, from our school. I have 2 kids, and like it's so weird. Like I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I live in a suburb just outside in Oak Park, which is upperish, middle class, a little bit far more affluent than where I grew up, And I've had this culture shock, where it's like, which makes these movies all the more important, because like, dude, we get off like a half day Friday and people are like, we're going to the Bahamas. And we're like, my wife and I are always like, what? Like, you got like 3 extra hours. Like, how are you going to Spain? Like, what is like, and we don't do any, like, we're home all spring break. We didn't do anything. We did stuff around the house. We took our kids, did things, but like everybody we know is just like, the minute spring break started, they're like gone. Like, this
That's
place.
because they don't tell people in your economic class about the teleportation chambers they've been developing for all these years.
I knew it.
Once you get into a higher tax bracket, you get your teleportation chamber.
Sick.
Well, I wanted to know just a little bit more on the kind of like topic of like not just class, but like race and like, you know, citizenship. Like, what inspired you to explore like the Mexican immigrant story? Whoever wants to answer it, maybe Nathan to start, but like in February is, again, like coming from the world of publishing. I've actually, me and one of my writing partners like have actually run into a lot of pushback. There's a lot of people who are like really kind of saying, you know, don't write about an experience that is not yours. I mean, we went through that with a recent novel, actually. And do you feel that there's a little more freedom to do that in filmmaking? You know, to portray people from other cultures? Like, what was your kind of inspiration in choosing those folks? And then, like, how did you kind of ensure to yourself that was an authentic portrayal?
Yeah, obviously went into it very humbly. I think it's just a part of the whole series that is just something I'm going to have to do, which is that I don't want to do 12 stories that are all just about middle-class white guys who want to make movies. You know what I mean?
12 writers.
And
and writing books.
Yeah. So and to me, that's so January is about a 75-year-old white church volunteer. And so it really started there, where also it's about 2 women connecting. And so just starting for February, I thought it'd be really fun to start with as many contrasts as I can. So February is about 2 men connecting. And on top of it, let's look at Wisconsin through a brand new set of eyes. Somebody who's not even from America, who the weather is especially shocking. And I talked to a lot of Latinos that came out for our tour, and they talked about that is a huge kind of understated part of their experience here. There's a lot of things that make Wisconsin a pretty easy place to move to, and then there's others that don't make it as easy. And just the weather in general is just a complete shock to their system, and just like what, you know, they're used to. And I guess we Nordic types are used to the seasonal depression, running noses, and
it's in your DNA, Nathan.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be sad 4 months of the year.
Yeah, but that culture shock, we wanted to get accurate, and I'm so happy with the amount of positivity we got from the Latino community around Wisconsin. And we kicked off our kind of Eau Claire premiere, which we filmed part of it in Eau Claire. We had a professor from the university, a professor of Latin American studies, who talked a little bit about the context of it, and also talked about that there's not a lot of Wisconsin stories about Latinos out there. And he was just really happy that they're getting out there more. They're the fastest growing demographic in Wisconsin. A lot of people don't know, but they're 70% of the dairy workforce and a huge part of the cranberry workforce. So like, they're like the engine behind our state. And yet we're still, I mean, you saw the way we voted. It's like a hot button issue still, which is crazy, because the state would basically collapse, you know, if we just said no more immigrants. And in general, I was really encouraged by the response from people, especially in rural communities. So David, who played Miguel, came out for the first few weeks of our tour, and I was a little nervous when we were going to places like Elroy, Wisconsin, or just like tinier towns. And actually everybody was like really nice. People treated him like a movie star. And I did hear from a lot of older people like, oh, I never thought about it from the immigrant experience before. And it's kind of like, well, good, but like also like, how far back do you have to go in your family to get the same exact experience? I only go back 2 generations, and I know my grandma grew up in a home that spoke German, right? And like, it was her parents that came over on a boat from Europe, you know? Like, this is a part of the American experience. It's weird to shun a new group, but also to go back to the getting things accurate part, it was really important to have the right people involved. So Maria Madrano was our production designer. She did an amazing job, I think, capturing a lot of just even the background details. She like basically raided her grandparents' house to decorate some of the different things. And then also I think it was a different working relationship than normal with the actors that probably as a director I should carry forward into future things. But I was way more collaborative and way more like, sometimes you get very set in your head as a director, right? Like, I know who this character is and we got to talk about it. But this time, this was great because I was able to be like, I don't know everything about this character, so let's figure it out together, which is also a tried and true Mike Leigh method. So yeah.
Did you want to add anything onto that, Adam? Or
I mean,
Yeah.
sure. That was a very
Adam.
thorough answer. How do you make sure you get it authentic? And I was thinking about specifically when you're talking about the publishing world versus the filmmaking world. It's just baked into the process in the filmmaking world. There's so many other people that touch the thing. And so we knew that with the actors, we'd be able to like pass them the character baton and be like, you help us make this thing authentic because you know better than we do. And so that sort of is in the process. If for a director or a producer, if you want it to be right, like, and you can be like, no, as actor, this is what I want you to do. But like Nathan said, it was a big part. We knew that Naeli and Eric and David would be huge to shaping those characters and making it authentic. That was really important to me too, because I don't want to make this. We're two white guys. I can see us. You know what I mean? We need other people to make the thing come together with all the right ingredients.
Yeah, and some might argue that in a whether it's publishing or filmmaking in a power structure where there's still just more opportunities for this art to get made by white people, having them try to help bring those stories in the world might be a good thing. So
I just think it's more interesting.
Yeah,
it's more.
Exactly.
It's at the very least, it's just more interesting.
I want to ask, going back to something that we touched on a little, talk about the process itself and shooting in Wisconsin. Like we were saying, for those unfamiliar, there's states that have tax incentives that will give you rebates for making your film. Illinois, I have a company here and we have a great relationship with the film office, and they do a lot to help. There's like 3 out of like the coast. It's like Atlanta, Georgia, obviously. There's Illinois, and there's like one other is like Wyoming or something like that, has good incentives, or South Dakota or something like that. But I know Wisconsin can be challenging. And I know it's something you have mentioned that I saw that like you're trying to push for Wisconsin to get a little more film friendly. Can you talk a little bit about what that process is like and what were some of the challenges of filming in Wisconsin? Because you could have filmed in Illinois and just said Wisconsin, I mean, like you could have, but like probably wouldn't have been the same. So what was that experience like for you guys?
Well, if I can explain it real quick for anybody who doesn't know, because if anybody's like me, the moment I hear tax, my like brain blacks out and I'm like, I can't process the information. So basically, states and countries around the world this is how movies are getting made now and how they're attracting business. So basically, what it means for a filmmaker or a producer, right, is if you have a budget of 120,000, suddenly your budget is 180,000, depending on the tax credit, basically, because you're getting some of that money back. You can spend more. And the argument is that you're benefiting the local community, right? So real fast facts about Wisconsin. We're one of 13 states that have no incentives at all. We used to have them until this Johnny Depp movie called Public Enemies got shot here 15 years ago. And it was a much weaker version of the law. It was kind of before a lot of other states had figured out how to really do this. And they basically just abused the system. And we were like, get out of here, Hollywood. And so we're one of 13 without any incentives. And we're one of 3 now without a film office. We have no film office. So I heard a story recently, like there's a Hollywood star who called trying to get a movie made here. And they just had to call random. They ended up calling my producer friend because they were just going through the phone book instead of the film office. And then they got scared away because it was just like, okay, you don't have your stuff together, And so part of the tour coincided with an effort to bring them back. So we were as we were going around, I basically had like 30 town halls on top of 30 screenings, not just to stump for my year project, but also to be like, hey, I know this doesn't sound interesting at the front of it, but like this is the reason movies don't get made here. And the movies that have gotten made here, and we've seen it kind of an explosion in the past few years of indie film, because there's not just us, but I'm sure you've heard of Hundreds of Beavers, and also Green and Gold is now the most successful Wisconsin indie movie ever at the box office, which is like, if you've heard about that one coming out last year. So things are getting made here despite the fact that there's none, but they actively have to fight the producers, not Adam in this case. So like you have to fight, like there was no other, we weren't going to film it anywhere else, but you normally have to fight producers and financiers to be like, no, it has to be in Wisconsin. And they're just going, why not Kentucky? 30% back, So at the end of our tour, whether coincidence or not, Governor Evers here added those to his budget. So right now, working with a nonprofit called Action Wisconsin, and we're just like kind of in red alert mode as we just kind of try to spread the news about it, which is probably why you saw me talking about it on social media. And because I met and connected with not just filmmakers, but film lovers throughout the state of Wisconsin, and people want more done here, and I think, you just look at Illinois, but also look at Minnesota and what they've done. I mean, just across the border in Duluth, they're filming like Hallmark movie after Hallmark movie, and they have regular crew jobs. We have Christmas tree farms in Wisconsin. We could we could be this place. Some woman finds out that Christmas is the true.
You can also shoot a movie in 8 days there.
yeah. But we're joking, but those are regular crew jobs that happen then, and
which is important. Like that's a whole workforce. Like I'm a very big advocate for this as well, because I've seen it with my own eyes in real time that like it gives, hotels a boost, restaurants a boost, gives people jobs, like it just, there's so many benefits to this. Like we filmed a movie in Rantoul, Illinois, which is, outside Champaign. It's tiny, but it's an amazing place. And everybody was so lovely and just so excited. And like people got work, and we were at the diner all the time. Like it was just it just seemed like everybody was happy and everybody won. And granted, Illinois has the system. Anybody who has that kind of like, well, our tax dollars shouldn't be going to this. It's like, yeah, but the tax dollars come in, but then they go back out and they go back into the community. That's the point.
Yeah, if I can be a little bold and compare it to, it's kind of like the skepticism of NASA, because if there's another thing I love funding, it's NASA. And like people often will be like, how the heck does space, like, how does that benefit us?
MRIs.
Little things all the time. And then, yeah, but let's look at New Mexico. New Mexico built these film incentives up, and then Breaking Bad happens, Better Call Saul. You get these hit TV shows. Suddenly I'm driving through Albuquerque and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do a sightseeing tour. Like these like things that build up over time then. And then suddenly it's also like a buzzier place in general. And culture's important. I mean, we're 90% of the global audience share. That's American films. Like people don't realize that. That's a reason why American culture is so influential. And then on a state level too, it's just super important for stuff to come out of regions.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no reason why it's not an easy process, but it doesn't seem like too complicated of a process from my experience dealing with it. When you had a film office, the film office here is great, very helpful. Process is very clear. It's always been really good for us and really good for the community. And I hope Wisconsin and other states. It doesn't surprise me there's 13 that don't, but it is a little disheartening.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I think July 1st is the latest that the budget, like it's like part of the whole state budget now, right? But and the government will shut down after July 1st if they don't. So, anyways, we'll know by July 1st. So hopefully, up until then, people kind of get the word out and call their legislator or whatever and let them know.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope so.
So, when can we expect the third installment in your year series? When can we expect March?
Well, Adam,
you're the writer. You tell me.
Yeah. Well, so I have up until June written. I'm really excited. There's kind of an arc I have up through June that I'm really excited to do. The idea, part of the idea is that this is going to be like slow, right? So deliberately over 10 years, Spotted Cow film series will only do it in Wisconsin. I guess you can smuggle it across into Chicago the way Spotted Cow, gets smuggled.
We do.
Across. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully either next year or the year after, and just around the rhythms of other projects. But super excited about it when it happens. So.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about for both of you, other projects. Because Adam said you said you're a director as well, and Nathan, I'm sure you have other stuff going on. Can you tell us anything that you guys are working on outside of this project?
Yeah, I just finished a feature script. I shot a short about a year and a half ago, and and the idea was to, I think I have a short idea, but I want to like start like small, like experiment with it, and then I want to write the feature script and then kind of take it out. So I'm kind of in that process now. Finished feature script. It's a horror film. It's set in the South because that's the stories I'm interested in, Southern Gothic stories. So it's a horror film set in a church camp, because I came from like church world, so a lot of my stories deal with like religion in the South. And so yeah, it's a horror film. It takes place at a church camp in 1999 that I'm working on. It's called
Nice.
Hatch.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Let's
So-
make it. Very cool.
Yeah.
I've got this dream project, I guess, called Spacer, which is this sci-fi movie about an asteroid miner. Kind of There Will Be Blood in 2001. So I'm seeing what I can get. I'm shopping it around right now, basically. But mainly through the tour, I met a couple people that kind of pointed me toward possibly funding a Wisconsin project sooner than later. So I got this other thing that's kind of a bank robbery, COVID set bank robbery series, kind of Soderbergh inspired, that fingers crossed will be able to take advantage of some tax incentives sooner rather than later.
No, I hope so. I mean, both of those sound, I mean, definitely up my wheelhouse. I think Keir's as well. No, they sound terrific, and wishing you the best luck. I mean, it's hard. Getting this stuff off the ground is hard. So
hard.
Just keep at it. So hard.
Yeah.
Well, did you
It's a grind, guys.
Did you see Mike Leigh's recent complaints about the film industry right now?
What do you say?
Like 2 months ago now, I think. Yeah, he just said he had some quote where he's like, because he's taken around hard truths, which I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but he was like, nobody wants to cough up the dough. It's the worst fundraising period he's seen in his entire career. Like, he just said that, which I understand. You know, the film industry is kind of in this crazy period right now, and like the mid-budget's dead. Streaming is blowing up the traditional sense of where you take your movie afterward, and I think everybody's still reeling and trying to figure out how to do it.
It's transition time for sure.
Yeah, it is. But as we have been saying all year, like Soderbergh's showing everybody how to make grown-up films for like a few $1 million that actually can earn their money back.
Yep.
Well, I hope
you can shoot it on an iPhone. That's what Soderbergh teaches.
And Sean Baker.
Yeah. Both of them. And I think we're seeing I think Sean Baker's optimism, he might be a little bit too optimistic, but I do think that there is something about the Hundreds of Beavers. There's something about, there's a couple other road shows that have come through here. We mentioned the Music Box Theater, and they very friendly to indie movies. They may not give you a run, but they'll play you a little, at least. They played 100 Beavers a few times. And it feels like there is this economy that's growing, that market that's growing, that like you can make a movie reasonably and play it around the country, hopefully, and maybe get some buzz, and maybe you make $500,000 at the box office somewhere in that area, and then get a VOD or whatever. And you can, that's the problem now. I'm sure you guys know, with streaming, is that you're just not going to get your money back. If you make a movie, we had this problem on a film where the budget was $750,000. It was a good movie, did a festival run, got good buzz, et cetera, all that kind of good stuff. But we couldn't get a deal. No streamer was offering. It was 6 months ago, deals were like $1 million plus. And then everything cratered. And we were talking to other producers and friends who were like, yeah, streamers aren't just for indie movies, small budget movies, just aren't offering anything anymore. And we couldn't get anywhere close to $750,000 as an offer. Streamers, and if you can't get the purchase price from a streamer, there's no ancillary markets to make your money anymore. Those are just cable, DVD, physical media, et cetera, are just gone. They're just gone. So it's maybe that road show is the model. Maybe that is the way. Take it around, tour it around, book some theaters, make some money. It's possible, I think. I think it's possible.
I definitely know, as a filmmaker, it's way more rewarding than the streaming model, because We actually screened last night with Hundreds of Beavers in a double feature in Madison, and I hadn't seen it yet, and so it was fun to see the enthusiasm and also kind of feel like, oh, it's a Wisconsin film night or whatever. But what they did and what we tried to do on our own too, I think it also cuts to what I think we're missing right now, which is like with streaming is like, yeah, I've had a lot of great days where I binge something on my laptop in bed or something like that, but it doesn't compare to all the experiences of my youth, where like Harry Potter came out or some, like big movies, like the experience of going to the movies with your friends, and it's an event. And I think it is a good model going forward because people miss that. People want a reason to go to the theater. And then as filmmakers, it's way more rewarding to watch it with a crowd than just it. My first feature was shot in Chicago like 6 years ago. It's on streaming, but it's like I don't. It just feels like it doesn't exist to me. You know what I mean? Like I saw it a couple times at festivals, but that's it. Compared to doing it this way now. So.
Well, I think that's a great statement to go out on, because we are absolute proponents of seeing the movie in the theater. So once again, to our listeners, don't just stream it. Go see it in the theater whenever humanly possible.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Filmographers podcast. And I really hope you'll keep us, keep in touch and keep us up to date with your future projects. We'd love to have you come back to talk about something else in the future. Really
quickly, how can people see January, February? We saw the private screener, I know that, but like, what are ways that people can view the movies? If they're listening to this, watching this, how can they find it? How can they find you guys?
We're figuring out the online release of February right now. We have like a final few screenings in person in Wisconsin, but hopefully later this year we'll get it out online. January, though, is available on YouTube and Vimeo if anybody want to check it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. This was a blast. Keir, do you have anything before we wrap up?
I'm good. Enjoyed this conversation, guys.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thanks for having us. And go watch Bubble.
Well, Mike, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Keir, I agree. It's always just great to connect with fellow film nerds. And honestly, I can't wait to see what they come up for March. Like, I think it's a really interesting thing that they're doing. I love how they're doing it. And I just wish them and filmmakers like them, nothing but the best of luck. Absolutely. And I love the ambition. I mean, just as we put down a marker with our first season of the Filmographers podcast and said we were going to do Steven Soderbergh, who has a ton of movies, they came out and said, we're going to make not just one, not two, but we're going to make 12 independent films. So more power to them. If we get the chance, we'll check back when March comes out. Yeah, for sure. Listeners, thank you for joining us. If you're in the Chicago area, don't forget to join us also at our 25th anniversary screening of Steven Soderbergh's Traffic, the film that won him a Best Director Oscar, at Classic Cinema's Lake Theater in Oak Park on Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, please do it right now by visiting patreon.com/thefilmographerspodcast, where you'll find all our episodes, merch, and more. Yeah, and if you just want some merch without the commitment, you can go ahead and search Filmographers on Cafe Press. Maybe you'd like a nice tote to carry all your Soderbergh DVDs around in. I know I would. Yeah, I mean, and for our next season, we're going to need another tote, so maybe 2 totes. Cafe Press runs sales all the time, so there's probably a sale going on right now. Check it out. And we want to hear from you, too. The nicest thing you can do is write a review on your platform of choice, but you can also find us on Bluesky, Instagram, and even TikTok. Or just send us an old-fashioned email at thefilmographerspodcast@gmail.com. And thanks, as always, to Kevin Lau, our patient, wonderful, awesome producer, Gompson, who composed and played our excellent theme music, and Cosmo Graff, who's just working tirelessly designing our logo and the aforementioned merch. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time, or you'll hear us on the Filmographers podcast.